Hey, we're talking to Shannon Sylvia. Up next on Geek Out SA. And welcome back to Geek Out SA. It's Friday and we're having fun. We're having an awesome time today. And we have Alicia with us, so we're doing a little Halloween thing. But yes, we are gonna talk. Well, Colleen is gonna talk to Shannon Sylvia today.
I got to interview Shannon Sylvia through Skype, so it was really fun. So she talks about all the paranormal stuff.
Yes, I listened to a Paranormal Experience podcast, so I really love that stuff.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome.
And then we'll tell you all the ooky spookies that we've experienced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just in time for Halloween.
Ooh.
Yes.
So let's start it. Cue it up.
Hey everybody, so I'm here with Shannon Sylvia, and we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about how she lived in haunted houses and what she has coming up on the Travel Channel, just, to get us all ready for Halloween. So, hi Shannon, it's nice to see you.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, it's great. So, I wanted to ask you first about living in haunted places. So, I've seen that you actually lived in several haunted places.
Yeah, lucky me. I grew up in a haunted house. I was there for 21 years. Couldn't get out of there fast enough. I bought the haunted condominium that was on an episode of Paranormal State years ago, and moved in there and thought that all the first ghosts from the first house followed me over. I was really convinced of that. And it was kind of bummed because I was really excited to finally get out of a haunted house, but I ended up moving into a condo that was even more haunted than the first house. So note to self, don't ever buy property that's located in an 1800s schoolhouse.
That probably should have been your first clue there. So.
I had no idea. The place was so damn cool, I couldn't say no, but I had absolutely no idea it would be haunted. I didn't even know how old it was when I first acquired the place, so that's my fault. But
that's okay. You were probably drawn to it because it's probably drawn to you in a way as well. So can you tell us a little bit about what happened in the house when you were growing up? You were in Boston, is that correct?
Yeah, I lived about 35 minutes from Boston in a suburban neighborhood. It's a town called Leominster, so it's the birthplace of plastic, and the inventor of the pink lawn flamingo is from Leominster, and Johnny Appleseed.
There you go.
Some tidbits for you on my little historical town. It's a nice town. I lived there forever. I mean, I just moved out of Leominster 3 years ago, so
really? Okay.
It's a town where everybody who lives in Boston can't afford it anymore. They move to Leominster because it's so close to Boston, but now the real estate in Leominster is astronomical. But the house that I grew up in was uneventful. It wasn't anything extravagant, just a house, a regular house. And from about 3 years old, my mom started realizing that there were creepy things happening around me and the family. It wasn't just me. It was my brother and I and my dad and my mom. And basically on this episode coming up on Travel Channel, going back there to 3 years old, explaining all the things that happened to me from day one. And all I can really say is that it was a long childhood stuffed with lots of priests coming to my house, us having to go to the Catholic Church, people coming to the house, lighting candles and praying, saying Catholic prayers and singing. And the priest would come to the house and bless everything, including the pool. They would throw holy water in the pool, and I'd be like, oh my God, that's so funny. Like,
wow.
Really? We have holy water in our pool.
Can we only swim there on Sundays? So.
It was just asinine. I mean, there were a lot of sinister things happening in that house. It started off with nightmares, and then it's so cliche because I had a haunted doll before Annabelle ever existed.
Right.
And
I don't know why
everybody
dolls
knew.
seem to be that thing that attracts the hauntings, but a lot of the things we see or hear, my sons are convinced that this doll that I had when I was a kid, he's a monkey, that he was haunted, and he would only not bother them if his ear was taken off. So they took his ear off and put his ear in one of their bedrooms and put the doll in the other bedroom. I don't know.
Oh my God. So, alrighty, but whatever works, right?
Right. Whatever makes you feel better.
Yeah, I had a haunted doll. I remember nothing. I remember the doll, but I don't remember the circumstances that supposedly happened. It was all stories told to me over the years by my mom. And she, when I turned 8, she raised us by herself, and then things kind of started getting tumultuous from there. So, I was just too young to remember what happened with the doll. Couldn't say I remembered a damn thing. I remember not liking it. I remember not ever playing with it again. I just don't remember the scenario that happened to me when it happened. My mother said I was pretty traumatized. And it wasn't just a doll. It was just everything. It was just so bad.
Well, what's the first thing that you actually remember?
The footsteps, plagued with footsteps constantly coming from the basement. And the house wasn't great construction. It was a house built in the 60s or early 70s. And every time you came up from the basement stairs, it would make a scene, like the creaky, stupid, cheap plywood, whatever stairs they were made out of. And just a carpet runner that went down. But you could always hear heavy footsteps coming up those stairs when we were kids. The whole family would be piled into the living room. We'd all be together. So I knew it wasn't my dad. I knew it wasn't my brother. This would happen all the time. And my mom would make us sit on the couch and pray or read excerpts out loud from the Bible. And that, I didn't realize how ridiculous that stuff was until I was older, thinking that wasn't normal.
Right, because to you, it happens all the time. So to you,
it was just...
It's what people do.
Exactly. It happened all the time. And I never spoke about these things to my friends. I went to Catholic school. I had a very, very small class. So I wasn't friends with... I was friends with a couple of the girls, but the majority of them didn't get along with me. I didn't get along with them. We had a lot of snooty girls in the class. Right. So...
that's funny because I went to Baptist school, but I also went to a private school when I was younger too. Small class, snooty. I had the pastor's daughter in my class, so.
Oh God.
We've got that whole thing going on together.
Right, so you can kind of understand that all you're doing in your childhood is trying to impress people and make friends. The last thing you need to do is start telling them about your woes of living in a haunted house where they think you're absolutely insane.
Right.
And they don't believe you. I couldn't say a word about any of this. Nothing, not even to my friends that I did have, because if word got out that I lived in a haunted house, you were screwed.
Right, because then you're the crazy
in that
person,
school.
right?
Yeah. Just too small.
Yeah. Well, so all of that, I said after all of that, then you moved out of the home. So you kind of were doing this the whole 21 years, like hearing the noises, hearing voices.
It got really bad as I became a teenager, and there's no doubt in my mind that I had poltergeist activity. And the stories will all point you back to hormones and teenage girls. Yeah, I really think that's what happened. And it turned in, it went from footsteps, and our babysitter when my brother and I were young, her last name was Melanson. I'm not going to give off her first name, but she actually ran out of our house because our kitchen door cabinet flew open and a dish fell out and smashed on the countertop, and she was gone.
She was like, I'm out.
Yeah, that happened. That actually happened. And that was just play stuff. When I started to get a little bit older, I would hear voices this time, and they never spoke English. The only thing I could understand was my voice. I mean, my name, sorry. Mm-hmm. But I could hear men and women talking, like female and male voices, like a choir of them. And then whispering, like, almost like a bad movie mix, like background noise in a horror movie that you would expect them to play when there's a scene. It was just like that. It was no different. Just a bunch of men and women whispering and talking. And I could hear my name. And I lived in the basement at this time, which is the worst thing you could have done to me.
Oh my God, yeah. Why did you do that?
Yeah. My mother had a baby, and I had to move downstairs. So it was the worst thing you could have done to me. It was. And traumatizing because I knew what was down there, but I had nowhere else to go. I couldn't stay in my bedroom anymore. We needed it for her. So, that kind of sucked. I stopped sleeping a lot at that point. I started sleeping with a pillow on my head, which I still do to this day, so I wouldn't hear the voices anymore. And then things started disappearing. I'm still that person that pulls their clothes out the night before for the next day. And first day of school, I bought a brand new outfit, ready to start school. The entire outfit was gone the next morning. Gone. Never found it.
What? Oh, wow.
Never found it. It was gone. I never got to wear it. It was gone.
That's crazy.
I used to have a lot of things that used to disappear, and what the hell? And there's nothing you can do about it. You don't know when it's going to happen. And back then, again, in the 90s, didn't talk about it to anybody.
Right. No.
There was no Facebook or social media. I couldn't send a private message to someone on Instagram to a paranormal celebrity and say, what the hell's going on here?
Right, right.
So it was hard because all I did was basically take the money I made working and just buy books, tons of books on witches, books on the occult, books on ghosts, books on everything, just to try to learn as much as I could. And don't get for a minute the impression that I had occult books in my house and that's why we had a haunted house. It didn't work out that way. It wasn't like that. No, it was benign books. Trying to learn.
Do you ever educate people on the difference between paranormal activity versus what people see as like demonology or demon activity?
Yeah, I've been asked that a lot. What's the difference between this and that, and a shadow person as opposed to a demon? I don't even have all the answers. I don't know who does, to be honest with you.
Nobody.
I don't. I've never claimed. I'm just one of those paranormal people that never called myself an expert in anything. I've never claimed to know all the answers. I'm not a psychic medium, even though I've seen ghosts before and I could hear them. I'm not a medium. I would think that if I was a medium, it would be a regular thing. Right. I don't have all the answers. And I know mediums. I get a lot of information from mediums that actually do talk to ghosts. So if I have questions, sometimes it'll trickle down to me. Mm-hmm. But I've learned so much since becoming a ghost hunter back in 2005. I've learned so much about the paranormal. I didn't know back then anything about sage. We just had Catholic priests. It was just, if I knew things back then that I knew now, it might have been different. But I spent the majority of my life absolutely in fear, terrified of these things around me. And it's damaging. It's really damaging. A long time ago in the 90s, I actually took myself to a shrink who just immediately scratched on a notepad and gave me a prescription for Paxil. And that was it. She didn't even breathe the word ghost or paranormal. And I was trying to tell her everything I was experiencing, and she just gave me a prescription.
She was just like, here's your prescription. It's fine.
So
this will make him go.
It. I mean, what good was that going to do? I wasn't depressed. I was just sick of living in this situation.
Yeah.
There was nobody to go to. I tried to go to the priest at St. Anne's Parish, and he thought I was nuts. He had nothing to contribute. Yeah. This is not the same priest, by the way, that used to come to my house. That was many years later.
Well, so all of these people are skeptical, but I've heard that you tend to be a little skeptical yourself as well, which I think is really interesting. So why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think I'm skeptical because my dad is a scientist, always has been, still is, and I grew up as a kid using a microscope and playing with chemicals my dad would bring home, so God knows what that did to my brain. But yeah, chemicals that like dads shouldn't have given their kids. I mean, my 8th grade science project was liquid nitrogen, and I got expelled from the science fair because it was too dangerous. But I grew up in a very scientific family, my dad, and it was all about stuff like that. But I don't know why I'm skeptical about the paranormal, because I grew up in it so bad. Like, I know ghosts are real and demons and creepy things. I get it. Like, I was there every day. But when it happens to me, still to this day, I'm like, had to be refraction, reflection, bad corneas, I'm going to, must get LASIK surgery. I'm constantly thinking that there's got to be another reason for this.
Well, but I think that's good too, because there are so many people that are willing to have that knee-jerk reaction to any little thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice to actually investigate and find the things that are more reasonable, I guess.
Well, no, isn't it a good thing to be skeptical
Yeah,
as
I think
opposed
so.
to, I was never one of those girls on TV that was like, oh my God, and reading the rosary and biting nails and fretting over every little thing, because in my head, I was methodically thinking about it. You would see me very pensive. Like I had the resting bitch face on Ghost Hunters all the time because I was just in thought mode.
Right, right, because you're
What is this?
thinking, what is that? So, what do
Well,
you think
I
of some of these shows that, because some of it is TV, obviously it has to be TV because that's how people make money, right? But so, what do you think of some of these shows out here? Like, if somebody wanted to go out and be a ghost hunter for real, because I am a teacher, so I have a lot of students who are actually really interested in this. What would
yeah.
you kind of recommend for them aside from being a skeptic?
Well, don't get on TV because that doesn't pay very well, and it actually can do more harm than good. That's a whole other show. It is a whole other show. That's not a career choice for sure. And I just broke a bunch of millennials' hearts right now, but
Definitely.
it's not a career choice, trust me. And no matter what, and I just did it. I mean, the first time in 11 years I'm on TV again, and it's going to be torture all over again because people that don't even know me are going to tear me apart for one reason or another. I mean, God knows the shade of my hair color wasn't right that day. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just,
Yeah.
I want to tell my story. I've always dreamed of telling my story on television. That was actually a big bucket list. I'd rather have done that than been a primary on a series, to be honest with you. If you want to start ghost hunting, there's nothing wrong with that. Just don't head to the nearest cemetery and trespass after dark. Don't do anything stupid. Abandoned buildings, you can find a ghost at Walmart. You don't have to be in an old abandoned building to find ghosts. They're everywhere. You've heard this before. Ghosts are everywhere. Wasn't that movie like Ghost Amongst Us or something like that that came out in the 80s? I think it was with Nathan Lane. It was
I think
a
so.
really good movie about a couple of dead guys like trying to make it in the world of humans.
Yeah.
And they were just walking around shopping and having muffins and coffee, and nobody could see them, but they were trying to get around in this world. And that's kind of like how I relate it to, because I mean, I've lived in a couple of places that were haunted, and there's no reason for the place. Why was my house haunted? You know what I mean? Like, why were there ghosts in there? You don't have to go about it. You don't have to spend a fortune buying tickets to haunted events. Save your money. First of all, there's going to be way too many people there. You're just wasting your time.
Right.
You just start with a team. Just Google a team. Go on Facebook and find a ghost hunting team near where you live. They're everywhere. And just casually send them a message and introduce yourself and say, I want to learn. You'd be surprised how many teams would actually welcome people with open arms and say, you know what? Yeah, we could use an apprentice. I mean, you got a flashlight and a tape recorder? Come on board. There's always a place that people can fit in somewhere. Or if you're more of a loner, buy a digital tape recorder and just set it down on a table in a nice quiet place and ask questions. Give it a minute. Ask another question, give it a minute. You got to give them time to answer you. It's not rocket science. And then play the tape back. You'd be surprised how effective that is if you want to communicate with spirits. You're in the right place at the right time. They'll come through.
Yeah. Well, since we're in San Antonio, there is a lot of rumor of there being paranormal activity, because of all the battles and things that happened here in San Antonio and all this stuff. So, I think that's a good idea. Maybe Vincent and I will have to try that. Just take our recorder downtown and see what we can hear.
You know what? Start within your own home. I mean, even though your house might not be haunted, just try. You never know if like Aunt Mabel's hanging around just trying to communicate with you. You never know. I mean, I would just start at home. That's what I did. And I started picking up EVPs in my condo left and right. I couldn't believe it.
Crazy.
It was just nuts. So like TAPS wanted to keep coming back and investigating my condo because it couldn't believe how easy it was to get EVPs. And that was kind of weird. Things were happening, things were happening there. And start there, or just like you said, just go downtown San Antonio. I mean, I'm in New England. This every square inch of Massachusetts is haunted, so it's not hard here.
Right.
I got a job in New Hampshire just over the border. I live on the border of New Hampshire, and, lo and behold, the damn building I work in is haunted, and there's no reason for that. We don't know why. There's just something there.
People are going to start saying it's you, that they're all just kind of coming out for you.
I thought it was me, but then in the second I opened my mouth and said, look, there's got to be something in the back room where I work. And then the two guys, like, their eyes were like saucers, because my IT guy wasn't going to say anything to anybody because he didn't think anyone would believe him. And then I talked to a kid half my age, and his eyes got as big as saucers, and said, oh my God, when I used to sit at your desk, I used to see something walking by all the time. There's nobody back there. I'm like, okay, hallelujah. I'm not crazy.
You're like, it's not just me.
Nope, and it's not reflections. I mean, I'm in such a remote area, but we did do some research, and nearby, not very far, on our very same street that the building is located, there was a horrific murder of a child. Horrific. It was by a cannibal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to Google if you were to type in Ringe, New Hampshire. On 119.
I think I know what I'm doing later.
Yeah, I think this was in the 70s or 80s. I forget I want to say the boy's name might have been Anthony, but I'm not saying it's what's happening here. I'm not, but you know,
it
you
could
start
be.
Yeah, it could be. I hope it's not. No, I think this thing that walks by my window is taller than a child. It's a man's height, but ghosts are everywhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, going back to the skeptic thing, I don't know why I'm so skeptical. I always have been. I always will be. It's terrible. I wish I could just be a little bit more flighty and kind of accept things the way they are.
I think it gives you a little more credibility, though, too, because you are skeptical, because you do some research. I think, for me anyway, and maybe that's because I'm a skeptic too, but for me it lends more credibility. So.
Well, I can look at it that way. Another thing I kind of thought of is maybe that's how I built up a defense mechanism growing up, by denying it. So
maybe.
Could have been.
So what's the name? Can you tell us again, what is the name of the series that you're going to be on the Travel Channel?
It's called My Horror Show, and it has been airing on Travel Channel already. I'm not sure of the nights. This is all brand new to me, but my episode as of a week ago was still in editing, but she said it was going to air really soon. So as soon as I get information, I'll be making some announcements. I'll definitely update you guys.
Great.
And I'll be putting it out there, especially on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook quite a bit. You know, tune in to see my episode. And I'm sure that you'll be able to find the episode on YouTube, or where you'll be able to find it somewhere. Yeah.
Well, so before I let you go, I just want to ask you one more thing. Are you doing any like lectures or speaking tours or anything where people can come see you and hear you speak?
Yeah, I'll be at the Tewksbury Public Library next Thursday, and speaking on the studies of the paranormal. I do that every year. I really enjoy it. It's a small library. It's always a full room, and it's free of charge for anybody to attend. And I do spend the majority of my time now. I'm working on a writing project right now that I've been invited to do, which I'm not going to talk about right now because it's a secret. But I do work, I'm in marketing now since I sold my business, and I work full time, and I'm managing a large house here with animals. So
yeah.
Things have changed quite a bit since I used to be a little bit more of a free spirit. I used to travel extensively doing the ghost hunting, and then touring and lectures. I only do one charity a year now. It's the only appearance I do, once a year. Just because I don't have much free time, and I have been kind of over the past few years not feeling so great, so I have to still save a little bit of me time without running myself ragged.
Right, but people can follow you on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah,
and then we'll see what's coming up with your writing and things like that, right?
Yes. You can find me on Facebook. It's Ghost Girl 21. Facebook.com/GhostGirl21. I'm on Twitter as Shannon Sylvia.
Okay.
Instagram is Shannon Sylvia. Feel free to follow me, friend me. If anybody ever has any questions, I always invite people just to message me directly. Don't be afraid. I will get right back to you. I love that stuff still. I do help people. I'll look at your pictures. I might not tell you what you want to see,
right,
or what you want to hear, but I will give you an honest depiction of what I think is going on in your photographs, and I'll listen to your stories, and anything you need to know, just hit me up.
All right, well, you may be getting some emails and things from some of my students then.
That's fine. That's fine. And if you guys are watching, if you want to know more about becoming a ghost hunter or the do's or don'ts, and you want to know how bad Ouija boards are, anything, just ask me. I can tell you about equipment. Just ask me any questions. And I have a book out there too, that I published a few years ago with Katie Boyd, and it is called Paranormal Unwrapped, and it really does get into my childhood, but it covers a whole lot about how to become a ghost hunter and what equipment to buy and the best way to go about it and etiquette and things to do and things not to do. So it's you can get it on Amazon. You can buy them on half.com. It's a great book. I'm not just saying that. It's a great book for beginners if they want to learn to get into the field.
That sounds awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and doing this interview with me. It's been great. I've learned a lot, and I've really appreciated it.
Thank you.
So it was nice talking to you, and I guess we're going to go back to the show.
Good night.
Night.
And we're back. That was an amazing interview. Thank you. I know we had some issues on your camera towards the end of that interview, but yeah, that I'm so happy that she was able to talk to us. And
she's extremely dynamic and was really easy to interview. So I really enjoyed just interviewing her. It's weird. I always have a dynamic experience with Alicia when we're together, and we always have a good time bouncing off of each other. So I wasn't sure how that would do on Skype.
Yeah.
But I thought it ended up being great. So I appreciate her for being on. And thank you so much, Shannon, for being on and giving us some of your time, because I know you're really busy, but it was great. So then that led us to talking about our own paranormal experiences, because Vince and I have had kind of a lot.
Really?
Oh yeah, no, we really have.
Tons.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've had a lot.
Okay.
So, but we want to hear if you've had any or what you've had before.
Well, I played a ghost on TV once. I was on San Antonio Haunted History on the History Channel.
Oh really?
Yeah, they got a bunch of people from the Shakespeare company that I was in, and I played the ghost of the Alamo Street Theater, Miss Margaret.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh my
I found it on YouTube recently. But no, I personally haven't had paranormal experiences. I've had ESP experiences, but my son has had an experience that I witnessed.
Oh really?
And he was 2.
Oh really?
And you know how they say children are
more susceptible,
more open. Well, I actually witnessed his great aunt had passed away the day before, and we were visiting his great grandmother, and he had only met her one time in a big, huge group setting.
Right.
And he doesn't remember, but he remembered her name, and we walked into his great grandmother's house, and he said, "I'll just call her Stella." That's not her name, but
right.
We walked in, and he said, "Where's Stella?" And then he went, "Oh, there she is," and pointed at the couch. 2 years old.
She's right there.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
there was no precedent for anything like that ever happening.
Wow.
Or him even remembering that name.
Or anything, right?
Yeah. So it was that was cemented to me that he saw.
Yeah, he saw
it was an experience.
And he hasn't had any other experiences since then?
No, he has contacted me through ESP though, and I'm not kidding.
Really?
I am a very skeptical, very logical, scientific person.
Scientifically minded.
But I am wide open to there being more to our reality than what we know.
Yeah.
And I have had this is going to sound really dumb, but I swear to God, my whole life I've had dreams about what's going to be on TV the next day.
Really?
I am not joking. There's something about me that's very connected to television.
So Alicia's in tune with the TV.
I'm in tune with I am not kidding. And throughout my childhood and my adult life, I have had where I was watching TV and there would be an image or scene. I said, "Oh, I dreamt about that last night."
That's kind of weird.
No joke.
Yeah,
no
that's kind
joke.
of weird.
But one time I was in that twilight sleep when they say you're really kind of receptive.
Yeah.
And I was falling asleep, and I had my son was a new baby, and I was falling asleep, and I heard him yell in my ear right next to my head, and he's sleeping in a different room. I heard him yell, "Mommy!" And I woke up. I just straight on woke up and checked the monitor, and there was no sound. There was nothing. He was still asleep, but then a second later he woke up and started calling me.
Really? Oh,
So it was like he was calling me through his dream.
Vincent, what did you do? It sounds like Vincent's tearing down the house. I don't know exactly what he's doing. You're going to try to set up the new cameras right now because we're glitching. I'm like, what are you doing? He's very distracting to me.
So
you have had
those
your
were my
experiences.
ESP paranormal experiences that cemented it for me.
Okay.
Like, truly, like, I 100% am a believer. And I do listen to paranormal, like, podcasts, and, you know, I'm very interested in that, and I'm not closed off to it in the least. So.
Well, I've had a lot of experiences.
Really?
A lot.
That is so interesting.
So, first of all, when I was very young, my parents were convinced that I was possessed by a demon. So there was this guy in the neighborhood, a weird dude, and his daughter had a mental illness, and she believed that she was the reincarnation of Jesus.
Oh.
And she like poked her own hands and stuff and believed that she had those marks. So he did exorcisms from his home, right? So my parents decided I was exposed to this demon, and so they took me down there and we had this exorcism. I was like 4, I think.
Okay.
Right. So years later, somebody new moves into the house. I'm like 11, and he and I, the boy that's my age and I, we become like BFFs, right? So we hang out at his house all the time. Well, his grandma died, and we can hear her all the time calling us, like from other rooms. We're like looking for her, and she's like calling us, and we're like, what is she doing? She's calling us, like. And then things would go flying in the house, like come flying across, like dice would hit us in the face and stuff. Yes.
Oh my God.
So then it was the time of velvet posters. So he gets this velvet poster of this horse, but it had like human eyes and weird human teeth.
Oh my God.
It was the weirdest velvet poster ever. So we were like, it's watching us. And everybody's like, it's not watching you. It's like poster effect, right? It's not really watching you. And we're like, no, this poster is watching us. And we would be in the room and like hanging out, and you would feel I swear, I'm not kidding. You would feel something like a hoof, like scraping on you.
Stop.
Yes, girl.
I can't.
Girl.
I can't.
It freaked us out so bad. So there's no internet or anything, right? Back in this time. So we don't know what we're doing. We tried to use the Ouija board to connect to it.
Oh, I've done Ouija board.
Oh my God.
I had a weird thing in high school with the Ouija board where we were doing the Ouija board, and we were asking it questions, and it was answering like its name and how it died, and then it just started spelling kill, 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 kill over and over. We're like, we're done.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are getting messages through the Ouija board, or we're pretty sure we are, right? Because we're like, okay, we think we are. And we don't know what to do, but we probably watched too many TV shows and movies and stuff. So we decide, oh my God, we're so stupid. So we decide that there's this field, like by the skating rink where we live, right? Where the homeless people live. And we decide that we're going to go out and like take candles and stuff, and we're going to burn this and try to do like this sacrifice thing of this poster to try to get rid of this demon. Or
I would have done the same thing.
And we all like form the circle with our hands, and we're like burning it, and we're like, get out, demon, get out, demon.
I wish you still had that poster.
We were like 14. Yeah. Oh my God. It was a disaster. Yeah. And anyways, we still had paranormal stuff in that house. Yeah. We would still see like people walking like beside you, and you would turn and there's like nobody there, and you could hear footsteps, and you're like, we're all just sitting here. And we would hear his grandma, and sometimes we would hear a baby crying. So I'm pretty sure it's from all the weird, like all the deliverance type of that. Like,
but even today, we do have a lot of stuff happening here at this house.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All the time.
Mm-hmm. Especially
like,
in the kitchen. There's some kind of entity that lives in the kitchen. Yeah. It slams the cabinets. It moves the
utensils inside the drawer.
Mm-hmm. It moves glasses and stuff around inside the kitchen. Yes.
Can you ask us? Could you please just do the dishes?
Could you just do my dishes? Yeah.
Please. Well, we used to be able, out of the side of our eyes, sometimes see like apparitions.
Mm-hmm. Stop.
Mm-hmm. No, really, for real.
The doorway, yeah.
In the middle of the doorway. And our boys, swear to God, there's a little girl that lives like on the side of the house, in the side of the yard. Like when they were little, they believed this little girl was like their friend. And we could never find this little girl, or we didn't know who this little girl was or who she belonged to. And we kept trying to find him. And they're like, she's always right here and she plays. And we're like, say what?
So my mom was a real hippie growing up, and she did that past lives regression thing. She was doing all those weird things. And so she told me about all her past lives that she talked about. And I think one time in high school, like, we did some thing with somebody where they were like speaking in tongues. I don't remember, but it was some like past life regression type thing.
Right.
But I mean, listen, I'm not saying we know the explanation for it.
Right.
But I do think 100% there's either residual energy, not necessarily your soul or your spirit.
Yes, because it can neither be created nor destroyed, so the energy's got to go somewhere.
They were talking about residual energy in the chat.
Yes.
So.
And that's what I talk to my students about, because I do want them to have a good level of skepticism, which is one of the things that I enjoyed talking to Shannon about. Was I think you do have to have a good level of skepticism.
Have skepticism about what we know and what we don't know.
Yes.
Because there's more that we don't know than what we do, you know?
Yeah,
So
but
that's what I tell
many
my son.
People are willing to just see something on the internet and just straight believe it. You know,
yeah.
I've seen something, it's a documentary or whatever, somebody's an expert or whatever,
Yeah.
I believe it. Without doing any other additional research and trying to let themselves know what's going on.
Yeah.
And like Shannon said, that she's a big skeptic.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that when you are a big skeptic, when you do come in contact with these things that finally give you that realization, then they become, I think, truer to you and more concrete for you, right? Because...
Well, quite honestly, I think it has more to do with time and the construct of time than it does anything else. Because I feel like, we invented the concept of time, but time is probably a lot more fluid than we understand. I mean, it definitely is. And that it could be, different or thinness between, the different like timelines or dimensions. I mean, I think of it more that way than I do in a paranormal way.
Vince is very much,
into there being different dimensions, and
he's a
you could be seeing multiverse kind of guy. Well,
yeah. Vince is a multiverse guy, so he definitely believes that that's quite possible, that at some point some Earth is on top of another Earth.
There's more of a science fiction sort of explanation for it than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting. It definitely leads us into kind of this Halloween mindset. I know some people in the room, Stuart, don't like Halloween because they're from, down under, and they don't do Halloween, where apparently we send our children to strangers' homes to beg for candy, but the rest of us like it.
Yeah, Halloween is everything to me.
Yeah.
Everything to me.
So Alicia's going to tell us some of the things that are going on this weekend that you can do with your family.
There are more things going on this weekend, I think, than any other time of year or any other weekend in San Antonio. I literally have 2 pages full of events, but I can tell you the big ones are the zoo is having their
Zoo Boo, right?
Oh wait, hold on. No, this is the Wonderland of America's Bootacular, where the kids can trick or treat at the mall, which is always nice. And then the Botanical Gardens is having the Botanica, and the adult one, which is the Moonlight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Oh, nice.
The Stephen King Horror Fest by La Llorona is tomorrow night.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm really looking forward to. So that'll be like art.
Is that at the Blue Star?
No, that one's at the Herman Raskeller Bar.
Oh.
There's the Hocus Pocus Halloween party at the Arbor House. I think that's like a charity event. Okay, this is really weird, but one of my favorite YouTubers, he's also a musician, Aurelio Voltaire. He's going to be at the Bonham, and he has this amazing series called Gothic Homemaking, where he goes all over the world and gets things to decorate his house, like Gothic all year round, which is very much, I'm
where Alicia
very
lives.
into that.
She lives in Gothland.
Yeah, I live in like dark magic land, so there's a little bit of goth in there, but so he's going to be here at the Bottom. And I mean, there's just so many Halloween parties. It's nuts. So if you look at my Facebook page.
Oh, that's what I was wondering. You did put it on your
page. Yes.
Okay.
It's all in, I just printed it right off my calendar. It's in the events tab, Geek Fun
and then
SA.
I was going to say, tell everybody again, what's your page?
Geek Fun SA, and you can just click on the events tab and just scroll. I'm really good at putting
she is really
the
good.
stuff on there, and you can also look through the feed and see what else is going on, because it's intense in San Antonio this time of year.
Yeah. And
Which
we
I
have
love.
a lot,
Amazing.
we probably have a lot of places, I was telling Shannon, because of the Alamo and because of the history and because of all the things that
Yes.
happen here in San Antonio. You know, go to the Menger, go to some of these places.
St. Anthony. Yeah, I went to the Oddities Market, and they had posted this map of all the lore of San Antonio and where all the different ghost stories and all the different things occurred.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see.
San Antonio is an awesome place to be
Lots
if you're a
of
Come on
ghost.
down. Come on down.
Come check out the ghost down here, and it'll be a lot of fun. But thank you for checking this out. Really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification button so you can see when we go live again.
'Cause we're
But thanks
awesome.
for checking us out. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen. This is Alicia. Thanks, Stuart, for producing.
Happy Halloween.
Geek out, SA. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.